All right, let me get this link all copied out and ready to go, and we can have ourselves a good old-fashioned Comacopa. Hello, how we doing? It's been a little while. It's a small-looking grid today, unfortunately, but should still be a fun one. I'm on the wrong thing. That's right, I am on the league YouTube now, which is all scared to race with the big boys. No assist. Well, I tell you what, I think it's the no assist is something I definitely don't do. So if you can, I think at the very least surviving will be a big positive. Because yeah, that shit is very difficult. That's for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the. We need the Barcelona circuit because that's where we are today. All right, so I've got the track map all good to go. I'm going to log back into Discord on my computer so I can actually have the points and whatnot open at my disposal, which I will need. Let's see, can we get back to CCRL? How's everyone doing tonight? Should be a fun one. The Barcelona Catalonia circuits. Oh, I spelt tier wrong in the damn promotion of the of the stream on the Discord, but you know that's all right. I know how to commentate and I know how to talk over things. I do not know how to spell. So I'll take my wins where I can and my dumbassery where I also can because I cannot spell. Tell you what, I say this often, but this you can't hear it because I'm on stream. But the soundtrack of this game, very solid, has to be said. I feel like this is actually a very good one, which is not always the case, but that definitely. What was the last time? Oh, that was at 6. Okay, I don't want to text the group chat at 10 o'clock at night because I'll be nice. I'll be nice to people. So we're just waiting now for who are we waiting here for? I don't know. We should have I think at least maybe 15 on the grid tonight. That would be not necessarily best case scenario, but that would be a good amount. 15 is a solid amount. I think above that gets even better. Below that gets slightly worse. I think 15 is kind of the golden number. So that's we're at 14 now. So this is still, in my opinion, a race worth casting. I think anything below 13 is just kind of don't show up anymore. Well, not necessarily that. I shouldn't say that. That's a bit much. But if you're like me and you're trying to cast a race with 13 or less people and you got a field with like really dominant, there's just not much that's going to happen. You need to start making stuff up. So I will say 15 on the grid. That's a good number. I am all good with that. By the way, I'll throw this out here again. If you've got nothing to do and you play either or Dirt Rally 2.0 or EA Sports WRC, feel free to shoot me a Discord DM for the details because I would absolutely love to have you. What do you need access to on Discord? I don't think I need access to anything at the moment. Although, again, if you do want details on that, you could definitely DM me because I'd love to get you in there. But I have everything now. There was a thing the other day that I didn't have any of the access to the elite tier channels, but I've got that fixed, so I have everything up now. 16. Hey, that's pretty good. Anyotse, Coma. We've got Urban, Shiesty, Barney, like the dinosaur. John the Prince, Bong and Owar, Johnny Damon Reimer, Hemphead, Charlie Golf, Autolabs, Angry Walrus, Guzman, R. Manson, and myself. 16 drivers on the grid. That is a very good number to have. Even better than I initially anticipated. So very good. Should I even like set my phone up over here and go like TikTok live? Would that be worth doing? Ooh, mobile gaming. Oh, that's mobile gaming. I don't want that. TikTok needs your screen recording permission, so you can... How do I do that? Is that even... I may learn how to set that up another time, but here we are. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 17th round of the CCRL Elite Tier season at the Barcelona Catalunya circuit in Barcelona, Spain. Hotspot on the call for you once again here. Very good to be back. Very good now to be on the league account, which is even better. 16 drivers on the grid tonight. Should be a very entertaining Grand Prix for you in store. The Barcelona circuit, I think, has gotten only better in recent seasons with the removal of the final chicane, and I think this new generation of cars definitely makes the racing closer and better. I think this track, it's not necessarily one of my favorites. I think it gets slept on quite a lot, really. The quality that this track sometimes brings to the calendar. So hoping that we have ourselves a good race tonight. Just waiting for the images to load on the thing here. Take a look at the drivers and constructor standings up first here as we load into the qualifying session. Angry Walrus atop the grid at 439 points. Guzman second. Reimer third, Knick-Knack fourth, Johnny Damon the top five, Urban, Pontiac Bandit, Owa, Bonga, and Old and Slow. That's a great name. Round out the top 10. Sorry, what was that? Who has just been told in? Catastic Toys. I didn't get an invite. Well, perhaps can you like, are you supposed to be there tonight? Did you check in? If you are supposed to check in and Urban missed you, then I can help you out, but I don't know off the top of my head. I'm just waiting for blokes to get out on track here. We need the track map naturally. Looks like the first driver out on track will be one of the McLarens. It's going to be John the Prince. Go back. So yeah, that was your top 10 of the driver standings. We'll go to the constructor standings now. As the McLaren of John the Prince first out on track, it looks as if the Aston Martin behind him, Alfa Romeo atop the table by about 70 points over Aston Martin in second. Mercedes, that's a 689 to 628 battle, the top spot. Mercedes 597, McLaren 515, AlphaTauri 386, Ferrari 377, Haas 303, 298 for the Red Bull, 172 for the Alpine, and 158 for the Williams. As it will be that of John the Prince, first one out on track. Should have some clear track ahead of him. We'll have to wait and see if he does actually end up being our first driver out here. But I think this track, not necessarily easy, but not necessarily too difficult either. There's a couple of spots on this track which will really catch you out by surprise. A few of those being naturally the transition up the hill through turn 9, the quick left and right switch of what was it, turns 7 and 8, pretty difficult. And then now it's a lot of just trying to find a way out of that final corner at turn 14 without going over track limits. And we're on with John the Prince now as, well, that's a terrible camera angle. Can I get off of it? There we go. John the Prince down the pit straight, and across the line he goes. Time starting now for the McLaren in question. Down the hill in towards turn 1. Very long pit straight this, and a very fast couple of corners here to start off the lap. 1 and 2, pretty straightforward. Turn 3, remember this used to be, trackside here was on my daughter's account, lol. This used to be one of those circuits where, you know, that third corner, you have to have, you know, have taken it. You had to really feather the throttle throughout the whole thing. Not necessarily anymore. These cars, with the amount of downforce that they do have, you can take that corner pretty much straight out as you'd like. 7 and 8 corner up now. John the Prince has done well. Up now through the transfer of turn 9. Now this is a tricky one. Got to be careful of the way out. You used to really be spinning the car if you didn't take that one correctly. In towards turn 10 now. Remember the tight left-hander, which got taken away. It's now more of a opening, sweeping left-hander, which doesn't really aid the racing all that much, has to be said. I'm not the biggest fan. Not the biggest fan of what they've done with that corner. Trackside, appreciate you joining here. Exiting the final corner is that of John the Prince. Down the pit straight he goes. It's going to be a 1:12.931. That's a pretty solid lap from the McLaren. I think that will be a good first attempt, enough to at least get a good time on the board. Manton has gone 1:12.627. Now that is done John the Prince in by 0.3 of a second, so an even better time there from the Aston Martin, but the mid to low 1:12 is where I thought we were going to be. Johnny Damon's gone 1:11.869, 7.5 tenths clear of our Manson on that first attempt. We've got the Ferrari coming around the line now. It's Bonget. He goes 4th. After that, a Red Bull and an Alpine, it looks, coming out of the final corner. What do we have here? It looks as if Coma's gone 4th. Either that, it was Barney. No, it was Coma, and it was the Red Bull, I think, of Agnote beginning one now. Down the pit straight he goes, in towards the first corner, and I can see that the recharge light is on. That will be not a timed lap to look out for him. Hemphead going down the pit straight now. It appears that this isn't going to be a timed lap from him. Currently resides, well, quite a ways off the pace there. He's going to be getting out of the way. Reimer making his way through Sector 3 now. Going through turn 14, a little bit of a lift there he had to take in order to stay within track limits. He's gone second, 1:12.032, about a tenth and a half behind Johnny Damon. So a good attempt then for Reimer. I would say that's a pretty solid first attempt. He's going to need a little bit more to stay within the hunt for the top 3, but a good one nonetheless. Coming out of the final corner now, looks as if we do have, is it an Alfa Romeo beginning one? No, it's Johnny Damon coming across the line here. We do have one of the McLarens as well. John the Prince, who didn't appear to be on a timed lap. Maybe is he beginning another one now? Yes, he is. Down the pit straight for John the Prince. He'll be making his way towards the first corner. We do have Agnote coming to the line now, who has invalidated his attempt. We've got Owa on an outlap going through Sector 2. And then next around the line looks that of Hemphead. I believe either he is starting a new one here or he's towards the end of one. I think he's going to be starting one here, so let's go along with the Ferrari in question. 1:23.453 is his current best time. He's just taken about 6 seconds off of the time he had down on his outlap. That, wasn't really going to count for anything. Remember, the Elite tier, now no assists. This is a big change that's come about from the Elite tier lads, and the Pro tier below that, I believe, allowing a couple, as Angry Walrus goes 1:11.584, puts Johnny Damon's lap 0.3 of a second behind, but Hemphead in through turn 5 now. Looks pretty solid, this Ferrari, has to be said. Still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers yet to put together timed attempts. Shiesty, Guzman, and Charlie, the next couple that are on outlaps here. It does appear we've got both Red Bulls on tracks. Oh, and that's a big slide and spin from Hemphead coming out of the final corner somehow. That car has remained at least drivable. Oh, man, the Mercedes has done it after that. A couple of sympathy spins there. That was from Urban after that, also spinning coming out of the top of the corner, as you probably just saw. Well, I definitely thought that spinning was not a big of an issue coming out of turn 9 as it used to be. That used to be a very difficult corner, and one to catch you by surprise, at least a good amount of time. And, well, we've seen it yet again. I did think that that was no longer an issue, but as it turns out, it still is. So Urban and Hemphead, unfortunately, their time lapse are not going to count for much. We did just have, that was the Red Bull of Owa go 7th. Not a bad time from him at his 1:13.111. Next up, it does appear is that the McLaren of Guzman making his way around. Looks as if he is on a timed attempt. Let's see what the McLaren driver has to offer here. Through turn 14 now, down the pit straight, quick downshift there, and across the line, he's gone third, 1:11.911, to put himself onto the second row, about a 10th better than Reimer. So a good lap there from Guzman, but for the time being, Johnny Damon and Angry Walrus kind of do look to be the class of the field here. The Johnny Damon's first attempt was the first attempt of the grid to get into the 1:11s, which we thought was ridiculous, and then Angry Walrus goes and does it in by 0.3 of a second, so very good for Walrus. Guzman third, Reimer fourth, the top four. Manson rounds out the top five. Half a second separate the top four. Everyone else is a second or more behind. We do have Charlie Gulf, who has just finished one, I believe. We've also got, what is that? That's an Alpine down low there. Next coming up looks to be the Red Bull of Onyote. No, actually, it was that of Owa on the way into the pit lane. We do have, well, he's clobbered the inside there, hasn't he? Urban coming through the final corner now. I don't know if this is going to be an actual timed lap, although it does appear to be better. He has improved by, just 14.5 seconds, up to 15th. Still about 0.2 of a second behind Onyote for the first spot, so he will need more. To the line now is the Alpine of Barney. No, not Barney. It's the other one there. It's Copa down the pit straight now, making his way towards the first couple of corners. Let's see what Coma's got to deal with here. Through turns 1 and 2, looks all nice and clean. Hardly uses the curb going through turn 2, which sometimes we see drivers pretty much go flat out across the bottom of the curb. Not the case there for Coma. He's stayed more or less on the racing surface, about a 10.5 quicker through sector 1 for the time being, down in towards, what is this, turn 5 now. Goes through turn 6. He's got clear track ahead of him. That will help the Alpine driver, certainly. Through 7 and 8 now. Good little taking of the corners. Not much to complain about there. Through turn 9. Now, this is where we saw people getting caught out here, and he's held it well. Down the back straight he goes now. He'll get into the braking zone at 192 miles an hour, 0.3 of a second quicker through sector 2. Now as he makes his way, going through turn 12, turn 13 now, and then eventually he'll make his way to the final corner of turn 14. This looks a very solid attempt here from Coma. I expect him to go at least 5th here if all is held well. Across the line, and wow, good guess. 5th place for Coma. About a clean second off of the top spot. That's a 1:12.616 for Coma, but that is a good spot. Does arm Manson by 10/1000ths of a second. That is very, very close indeed. But yeah, good attempt there from the Alpine driver. That is definitely going to, again, this is not going to be the final round of attempts. I assume the grid's only going to get quicker from here, but that is a very solid first attempt for the Alpine driver. Well, I say first attempt, it's probably his second by now, but either way, good enough for him. Angry Walrus on an outlap now as he makes his way towards turn 13. Well, while we have a second here, let's remind you of the upcoming schedule in the CCRL Elite tier. Barcelona this week. We head to Las Vegas next week, down the strip, I mean. Again, that should be a very entertaining Grand Prix to watch. That'll only be out of the 4 leagues I commentate, that will only be the second time I commentate a race at Las Vegas, and it should be a very fun one. Lots of overtaking to be had there. Whether or not you enjoy the use of DRS or not, either way, you're gonna have to deal with it because it will be a fun one. Baku after that, and then Hungaroring for the next 3 rounds, then rounding out the season, Paul Ricard, which is another redemption round. That's the penultimate round of the season. And then Yas Marina for the 100% distance Grand Prix. That should be a very interesting one. Because Yas Marina, I tell you what, the improvements made to it, it has to be said, have been very good. Still not the best track in my opinion. I think it's still very interesting to be trying to hold a season finale there, at least in real life. Maybe in esports world it's a bit better. But yeah, either way, that track has come a long way. It should be a very fun one. Walrus on a timed lap now. As I was, I tell you what, he's taken the braking zone marker there on the outside. He's done that for fun. He's used every inch of the circuit he could, and across the line goes Walrus. 1:11. 1:64 improves by an additional 0.4 of a second over Reimer. What I was about to say is that Reimer on that most previous attempt had gotten within 7/100ths of the pole time, so a good attempt for the Mercedes driver, but I'm afraid Angry Walrus has blown that one out of the water. Next on the line looks as if it's going to be the McLaren of John the Prince starting one here. We do also have one of the Mercedes drivers entering the pit lane. Next up behind him is Owa in the Red Bull, which appears to be about a second slower through Sector 2, so not going to be one to hold on to from him. Hemphead in that same kind of scenario as well, 2.5 seconds slower. Bongit making his way through the first sector, 0.3 of a second quicker through Sector 1, so a halfway decent time for Bongit at the moment. This will put him 9th if he's able to hold on, which he still has about a half a lap to go here, so hold your breath. Through Turn 9, looks pretty good. This is where his teammate had spun out as Hemphead retires. Now that is on the way in towards the pit lane. It's definitely not the easiest pit entry, this, but I would argue it's better than Hungary, and it's certainly safer than that of France or Zandvoort, but Hemphead has been the car going into the pit lane. It's unfortunate to say, I have seen that one a time or two. Bongit making his way through the final corner now. Looks a pretty solid attempt here from the Ferrari, and across the line he goes. It is 6th, 1:12.477, improves by 7.5 tenths. Not a bad lap there from Bongit. Moves himself 6th, but a lot of drivers within that kind of 10th to 0.3 of a second margin on that time. It's going to have to be a much better attempt next go around if he wants to keep a top 10 time. John the Prince has gone 9th, about matter of fact, only 4/100ths quicker than Charlie Golf for the 9th spot. We do have the Haas of Scheisty on a outlap now. The Williams of JC Auto Labs making his way down the back straight on an outlap here. Has had a very quiet qualifying session so far. 2.25 seconds off of the pole time, looking to improve here. Again, a lot of cars kind of in that range of, the low 113 to high 112. So a good attempt could put him closer to the top 10. He will need a good one here, and he's running out of time. 3 minutes and 45 seconds to go. So for him, this is going to need to be kind of make or break. I would assume if he doesn't have a good one here, it may just be over for him. Makes his way through Sector 1, looking pretty clean for the time being, although it has to be said, I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to hold on to a good one here. We'll have to wait and see. Tell you what, though, looking pretty clean in through Turn 5 now. Said it was about 0.2 of a second quicker through Sector 1. So not a bad lap for the time being. Up the hill through 7 and 8. We do have the Alpine coming around the final corner now. That is that of Barney beginning a timed lap, currently in the mid-112s, currently 5th as well. In towards turn, 10, I think. JC's about 0.3 of a second quicker-ish? No, just under 0.2 for JC so far, so that will improve him, but not really enough to increase his position on the leaderboard. We'll have to wait and see. Through the final corner now, and he's held it well. It's going to be a relatively slower one for him. He does go 13th. He does leapfrog both Urban and Owa with a 1:13.037. Not bad. He's actually done in Urban there by less than 2/100ths of a second. So again, a lot of competition. At the moment, the two Red Bulls make up the back of the grid here, although both of them appear to be on timed laps. Let's see if Onyote can put together a good one here. Exits the final corner and across the line. He will improve by half a second. Does not beat his teammate or improve any other positions. 2 minutes to go in the qualifying session. We do have Angry Walrus on a timed lap now. Guzman, I believe, has just finished one, 7/100th of a second behind as he makes his way into turn 1. Walrus on an out lap, as I've just mentioned. Barney making his way, who appears to have had some sort of mistake on this lap, 16 seconds slower. So maybe does he get to put together another one here? No. Into the pit lane here for Barney. That will be the end of his lap and perhaps the end of his qualifying session as well. 90 seconds remain. So yeah, he's not going to have enough time here. Komakopa in towards Sector 3 now, about a tenth and a half quicker through Sector 2. So a halfway decent attempt loading here for Komakopa. Still needs to find a little bit of improvement if he wants to out-qualify both his teammate or bong it. But let's see what he's got here. Exiting the final corner, he's got the Haas in front of him. A little bit of a toe, not really. Does improve, but it's less than a tenth and a half, so stays behind that of Bung at about 2/100th short of taking the 6th spot. 1 minute to go. That will be probably the end of the qualifying session for Komakopa. Bung it to the line now is starting a timed lap. We do now have one of the Red Bull drivers. It's that of Onyote on his way in. Next, the Aston Martin of Angry Walrus. This is the lap to look out for here. Down the pit straight he goes, currently at a 1:11.164. Was about 4.5 tenths quicker than that of Reimer. Guzman has made himself up towards that second spot, now within 7/100ths of a second. 30 seconds remain here. This is going to have to be a pretty much picture-perfect lap. And Guzman into the pit lane. Well, then again, he's already finished that attempt. That was kind of obvious there that I missed. Reimer making his way down the pit straight now. He is starting one. Johnny Damon through Sector 3, but it appears that he may be going into the pit lane here. Yes, he is. That'll be the end of the session for Johnny Damon. Walrus, 5/100ths slower through Sector 1 for the time being. Going up through 7 and 8 now, and then rounding turn 9. Let's see if he's able to hold on to the car well. Yes, he does. Down the back straight now, heading towards turn 10. What does he have here? Slower by a tenth of a second. Does Reimer have anything here? He's quicker for the time being. Only 4/100ths. He will need more. Rounding the final corner now is that of Bung it down the pit straight. Looks a halfway decent attempt for the Ferrari here. Up to 5th. Improves by 2.5 tenths of a second. Reimer making his way now down in towards turn 10. Across the line is that of Angry Walrus. He will not improve. 1:11.164. It's still his time. Reimer now a tenth slow through Sector 2. This is one of the last timed attempts we have. We've got Urban and Owa yet to cross the line, but Reimer will call it quits. Was about a tenth better through Sector 1. Somewhere through Sector 2, he has not gone very well. Urban has spun the car coming out of turn 12, and that will be the end of the qualifying session. Angry Walrus on pole, a little bit closer of a margin than he initially anticipated. To be surrounded by Guzman, put in one hell of a good attempt there at the end of it, but it will be Angry Walrus on pole here for round 17. So that'll be a good one for Walrus, but I'm thinking he's going to have... I tell you what, he's going to have a little bit of competition there, especially if Guzman gets away well. And so your starting grid for the Spanish Grand Prix, Walrus on pole, 7/100ths, the gap behind to the McLaren of Guzman, the red-hot McLaren as well. Reimer 3rd, Damon 4th, Bung at 5th. Barney rounds out the top 6th, Komakopa 7th. Good result there for the Alpines so far. Aston Martin of Manson 8th, Shiesty 9th. John the Prince rounds out the top 10, Charlie 11th, Hemphead 12th. Autolabs 13th, Urban 14th, Owa 15th. And unfortunately himself and the Red Bull, his teammate of Onyote, round out the 8th the 8th row of the grid and the back of the grid as well. So, Walrus, a good time for him there. Guzman really put in a good effort at the end of it. We'll have to wait and see if Guzman can get away well enough to challenge Walrus into the first corner. Oh no, don't forget Reimer's in the picture as well as Johnny Damon. Should be a great Grand Prix yet to come here. So I've yet to see if we're going to have any weather. For the time being, it does look clear, which is always good news. No indication telling me that we are going to get any rain. Sometimes I'll have drivers kind of ping me on the Discord telling me if it does appear that there's going to be rain in the picture, but that's not the case. Bit of a quiet one here for the time being. Remember, Las Vegas, Baku, and Hungary, the next 3 rounds of the CCRL Elite Tier. This is the 4th season of the Elite Tier. We've only got 5 rounds left to go. So really getting into the business end of this season. Remember, at least one more redemption round to come. That's at the penultimate round at Paul Ricard. And then the full-length Yas Marina Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to round out the season. Should be a very entertaining one, to say the least. And we're just waiting for the grid to kind of take off here on their formation lap. If formation lap is on, you never know. A lot of times they do change having formation lap on or off, but that does that is, usually like per league that happens. Remember, at the beginning of this game, formation lap used to be a massive source of the glitches and the lobby crashes. But it seems for the most part that they have fixed them. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to hold true, but we'll wait and see. So an interesting statistic this. I am currently based out of Connecticut in the U.S. We're supposed to have rain these next 3 days. Back home in New Hampshire, my family up there expecting 12 to 18 inches over tonight. I mean, that's just... that's a lot. Again, just waiting for the grid to take off on the formation lap here, or right to the race, either way. Pretty sure formation lap going to be on. I sure hope it is. Formation lap is one of those things that we do have from time to time that really does aid the racing. Remember when we used to the only way to do the formation lap was to let the game line you up in the grid box? I love having the ability to kind of angle yourself one way or the other and try to make some sort of advantage off the grid. Gee, if you're not doing anything tomorrow night, you can join me for the Midwest F1 broadcast as we take on the Suzuka International Racing Course for the coinciding Japanese Grand Prix taking place this weekend in real life as well. Remember, that's going to be a very late session to begin. I think we're looking at 10:30 tomorrow Eastern Time is when our first practice is slated to begin, if I look that up correctly. Yep, practice 1, 10:30 at night tomorrow night. So that'll be right at the end of our broadcast for that one. Practice 2, 2 a.m., naturally. Practice 3, 10:30 on Friday. And then qualifying 2 a.m. on Saturday. That is just ridiculous. I'm sorry. Has to be said. That is just not ideal. I'm getting tired just thinking about it. A little bit of a lengthy hold up here. I'm not really sure what's going on, but... time is about to hit 10:30 here on the East Coast. We still have yet to see our drivers roll off in the formation lap. Although I will say that was pretty cool a couple of weeks ago doing the broadcast for the I believe it was Division 2 in Midwest, and then also being able to have the watch along with the practice sessions. And, well, there we go. Lights turning on here. 4 and eventually 5 lights here for the Spanish Grand Prix. And let's see if Angry Walrus, can he get away well? Yes, he does. And I think he has gotten away better than Guzman off the line. Very close indeed. Reimer will actually get around the right-hand side of Guzman well before they get into the braking zone. If Reimer is able to keep the spot, that'll be a great start from him. But Guzman down to the inside, and then Reimer has been able to take the spot side by side behind his Charlie Gulf and Barney for the 8th spot side by side. And it looks as if we get a yellow flag. It's Shiesty off at the back, and then I think Coma has spun it. Oh, goodness me, and he's collected 3 others there. Well, he spun across the circuit going through turn 3. The Ferrari of Hemphead and the Williams of JC Auto Labs may have either gotten collected in that or spun in sympathy. That was a massive accident there, and I'm a little surprised we don't have any of those cars DNF'd from the race. Should multiple of them have crashed like that? Typically, you look at DNFs and you look at red flags as well. Not the case here. Angry Walrus leads. Down the back straight they go. Does Guzman have a look to the inside of Reimer here? In towards turn 10. The strategy is 14 to 16 for soft to mediums. Medium to hard. Well, I don't even know what that said, to be honest with you. We'll look at the tire strategies now. Top 7 on mediums. Only 3 choosing the softs. 3 choosing the hards as well. Everybody else on those medium tires. And as they complete the first lap of the Grand Prix, it looks as if Hemphead has had another little incident there. Walrus fastest lap so far. And Guzman getting around Reimer. That'll be round the outside as they make their way towards turn 1. This will allow Johnny Damon and perhaps Bongit to get into the picture now as well. Guzman now has a second deficit to overcome here as John the Prince has left the session, as it looks as if Bongit will get around Johnny Damon. Damon had a little bit of a hiccup there going through turn 3. Thankfully, he's not hit anything. That car will lose the 5th spot, and Bongit, the Ferrari, up to 4th. Looks like the biggest mover for today so far. Urban and Owa both up 5. Onyote up 4. Barney is down 5. Copa down 7 as he overtakes Shiesty for the 14th spot. I'm just wondering if those 3 cars have any damage. It doesn't actually initially appear that they do, but they were noticeably, sliding to the outside of the circuit and hitting the barrier. I'm a little surprised they don't have damage. Massive hits as they make their way now towards turn 10. Bongit looking. 0.6 of a second here, trying his best to find the back end of Reimer. Reimer's actually very much falling off the pace now of Guzman, is now outside of a second already. Guzman now within 0.8 of a second. Remember, no DRS until this next time by. We'll get it coming out of turn 9. Down towards the first corner they go. Bongit nearly had a look at Reimer there in towards the first corner. Wasn't quite close enough to make it happen. Owa within 0.2 of Urban. Again, not really going to be close enough to make that one happen through the first couple of corners as the grid slightly calms down now. 33 laps of this Spanish Grand Prix. A lot of action already here. Still more yet to come, I believe. Out of turn 5, Guzman trailing Walrus by 0.7 of a second for the time being. I would argue these 2 cars very even on pace, which will mean Guzman will have to put together some good laps here if he does want an opportunity to overtake Walrus. And Guzman already there, I think you may have just been able to see it at the back of your picture. Kim coming out of turn 9 maybe had gotten into the gravel, taking too much of the curb and the boards on the exit, maybe resulted in the McLaren losing time there as Urban and that is Owa trying to get around the Ghost of the McLaren of John the Prince. Matter of fact, there goes Owa for that spot. Down the pit straight they go. Guzman will have DRS this time to the back of the Aston Martin in question. Only 45% battery already. So Guzman trying to really put the pedal to the metal here and use up as much battery as he can. May look to be short on the battery in just a couple of laps time. Bong It now was within a half second there of Reimer. Didn't really get an opportunity to pressure the Mercedes in towards the first corner, but either way, Reimer has already lost. Reimer has already lost 2.5 seconds since being overtaken by Guzman. Remember, Reimer got Guzman through the first couple of corners of the Grand Prix, and then Reimer was about a second behind Walrus, and then immediately now 2.5 behind Guzman. So will be under a lot of pressure, and what's even more interesting is they're all even on tire strategy. I would assume, by looking at the numbers there, Reimer was on a different tire. Nope, he is also on the mediums, and so maybe just struggling with that car a little bit, or, you know, kind of taking a back seat on that battle for the lead, which sometimes does happen. Reimer is one of those drivers that is very patient. Sometimes it does kind of get the better of him. Oh, as we've got Agnote spinning away there, exiting turn 10. But what was I going to say is Reimer, one of the most patient drivers I do see in my times commentating, but sometimes that patience level does go against him a little bit, and he misses out on a few opportunities. That does appear to be the case here. Bong It down to the inside. Had a look to try to outbrake Reimer. Reimer was clearly going to outbrake the Ferrari into the corner, so that's not gone there. Side by side is Manson and Charlie through the first two corners here. Manson's going to have to hang it around the outside here. A bit difficult through turn 3, and it looks as if Charlie is going to keep the spot, but still a good battle being had there. Manson will try to outbrake around the outside through 4. Not quite going to be made happen. Note the Haas will pull away. Very nicely done there for Charlie. Have to wait and see if Manson gets a little bit of an opportunity to strike back. It's not going to be now. Maybe exiting turn 9. Again, that back DRS section, not very long. You will not see as many moves in towards that corner as we used to on the previous layout, because as it was, the corner naturally in the circuit was shortened a little bit with the very tight corner there, but at least it was a heavy enough braking zone to possibly see cars make that lunge into the corner. Now with this sweeping left-hander, you don't really see that opportunity get taken. As John the Prince leaving and rejoining the session here, we do have now Barney within just a couple of tenths of Urban now going through turn 14. As they exit the corner, Barney on the hard tires. I tell you what, he does have some good pace here compared to Urban, who is on the mediums. To the inside goes Barney, and it looks as if the Alpine looks like he's going to get this spot very good. Walrus now leaving the session, and that will ghost his Aston Martin. That will leave Guzman a very good opportunity to try to take the lead of the Grand Prix. We've got a lot of connection issues going on tonight. Several cars leaving and rejoining, as Guzman will get around the Aston Martin here and take the top spot in a fashion that I'm sure he wasn't hoping to try to have done. But Walrus will have to try to get rejoined into the session as quick as he can. Be very unfortunate for our championship leader if that is the case. And he's not able to rejoin. That would be very, very disappointing to see there. Bong It getting close to Reimer. That opportunity still hasn't been made by Bong It. I guess Reimer's got a good enough amount of pace now to really warrant staying ahead of Bong It. Bong It maybe just not having the straight line speed in that car. Reimer, though, what I will say, that guy really good at defending down the DRS sections. One of those drivers that we typically see doing the best he can to try to break the toe, and it does often work, as Bong It now still left about 0.4 of a second short in looking to make that overtake. We'll go with JC back to Coma Copa here for the 12th spot. Remember, Coma had the incident on the opening lap. JC has stayed stagnant, started 13th, currently 13th. Down the pit straight he goes. Coma will not have DRS. To the inside goes JC, and he will have that move well before the braking zone. Nicely done there for the Williams driver. And now it looks as if Reimer is going to be the next guy to get through and around the ghosted Aston Martin of Angry Walrus, or at least who it was, Angry Walrus. Unfortunately, that car not in control anymore. It's all up to the AI now. Bong it round the right-hand side. He will get the Aston Martin in question. He now has about 0.6 of a second back towards Reimer in order to make a move for the second spot. But it has to be said, I think when they do make that decision and they try to make that move happen, it's not going to be held for very long. That is a very hefty non-DRS gap from Reimer back to Guzman. So Bong-it takes the position here, and I think that's why we're seeing Bong-it not necessarily make a massive lunge at Reimer. Is that he just knows that if he gets into the top spot, he's not going to be able to keep the position with not having DRS. So that's the case here. Barney and Owa side by side. Owa up 6 positions. Unfortunately, this time Barney will get down the inside of the Red Bull in question, who is currently having a very good day. Let's hope to see if he can keep it going that way. He's on the soft tires as well, which is a very bold strategy to have off the start here. Spain, a very high degradation track, and for the time being, yeah, I tell you what, he's done it up the inside there of turn 3. Very nicely done for Owa. Back up into the 8th spot after losing it into turn 1 from Barney having DRS. Very nicely done there. And back to 8th is the Red Bull. Unfortunately, his teammate Avagnote has not had that good of a day. Started 16th, still currently 16th, behind by also 16 seconds of Hemphead. So 0.4 of a second the gap now between Reimer and Bong-it. This is for the second spot. Guzman out to a 2.5 second advantage here already. That was a big wiggle that time for Bong-it coming out of turn 12. Somehow he was able to hold on to the car. That one did get very close indeed. Out of the final corner now. He'll have DRS activated down the pit straight here. Johnny Damon kind of getting into this picture as well. Not really close enough. Matter of fact, not having DRS this time. But Johnny Damon's still in pursuit, and he's doing all right on his battery within, what is that, probably 40%? Yep, just about. So not too bad. He's kind of taking it a little bit easier. But for the time being, Johnny Damon's still in the picture. Barney gets around Owa once more. Walrus has rejoined, thankfully enough. He's dropped to 5th, and that is just the severity of what having the AI take over will do for you. It goes from the lead all the way down to 5th now, and now has a mountain to climb as he's 3.5 seconds behind Johnny Damon once again for the 4th spot. We did just have JC overtake Koma Copa there for the 12th spot. I believe that was going in towards turn 1, so nicely done for him. Going up through turn 9 now. I'm surprised we haven't seen any drivers during the race make the mistakes coming out of the 9th corner. We did see Hemphead, followed by Urban in the qualifying session, have a bit of a spin coming out of 9 there, but since then it's been smooth sailing Sarah Palin, and it looks like now Bong-it going through turn 13, down in towards 14. He'll have a good opportunity at Reimer here, although what I will say, Reimer appears to be having a halfway decent advantage coming out of that final corner. Maybe does he just have the line figured out better than that of Bong-it, and that's why we have seen the Ferrari not really be close enough to overtake the Mercedes. What I will say is this, Johnny Damon probably making that same mistake. I know Bong-it's got DRS ahead, but Johnny Damon now outside of a 1.5 seconds. That gap was within a second exiting the final corner last time by. That is the Red Bull, I think, of Agnote, who spun it around there coming out of turn 7 and 8. Looks as if he's got that car back up to grips here, and we continue green. Koma Copa and JC trading positions again in towards turn 1. Good little battle happening back there. Hemphead into the pit lane, the first driver of the softs to pit here. Remember, there's only 3 of them starting the Grand Prix, so we can assume to see those who started on the softs, that being that of Owa and John the Prince here, in the pit lane very shortly would be my guess. 10 laps in, that would be about as much as I would take the soft tires. The mediums, I would assume, can go about that 15 lap range, get them towards halfway through the Grand Prix. No safety car yet. I was kind of assuming we may have gotten one off the start. That's not happening. Matter of fact, I was convinced when we saw Koma, Shiesty, and Agnote go straight for the barriers there on the opening lap, but that wasn't the case. Down the pit straight they go, and again, Bong-it is just not going to be close enough to try to get something around Reimer. 0.3 of a second the gap as they enter the first corner. Johnny Damon has improved by about 0.2 on this battle for the second spot, but again, not close enough to have DRS. That Alfa Romeo kind of just a spectator on positions 2 and 3 right now. Urban almost got around Owa there. That was going through turns 1 and 2. We do have now, once again, the battle between JC and Koma Copa, and it looks as if, look at the run that JC's going to have to the inside. Oh, and that was some definite contact there. I think it certainly appeared to be with the side of the Alpine in question. Nearly went all 4 tires off the circuit. It appeared, at least on my screen, and what you would have seen to be contact. I could be wrong. But either way, JC back up to 12th. Coma back down to 13th. And now one of the closest battles on track once again is that of Bongett back to Reimer. Damon within a second here, but again, the detection zone coming up now, and Damon is not close enough. At the detection zone this time, he will be short about a tenth behind the positions 2 and 3 here with having DRS. Down the pit straight they go, and we have a yellow flag. Barney has gone around somewhere. That is to the inside exiting turn 12 over by where the rallycross course is. Thankfully, it doesn't appear that he's hit anything too much, and the track stays green otherwise, but scary moment there for Barney in the Alpine. Meanwhile, this kind of battle here for the second spot has shaved about a half second off of the gap that Guzman had initially towards Reimer and Bongett. This we might be getting in the scenario now where this becomes a podium battle here rather than just positions 2 and 3. Guzman starting to slip back a little bit, not really enough to raise the alarm bell saying that there's something going on with that McLaren. But Guzman now, and as I say that, pulls out another 0.2 of a second ahead of the two. But either way, 0.4 of a second between Bongett and Reimer now as they go through 12. Johnny Damon again about a tenth short of having DRS. Let's see where he's at this time at the detection zone, coming in at turn 14. And again, about a tenth of a second short. So that Alfa Romeo not really improving, but not falling back much either. Matter of fact, now he was just within a second there. For just a split second was he within that 1 second range. But Damon improving, not enough to really make a difference here, has to be said. Looking a little bit further back, John the Prince within slipstream of Urban. He may look to the outside on this one. No, he'll choose the right side. He'll choose the inside, does the McLaren, and he'll have that one well early, even before they get down to the braking zone. Nicely done there for John the Prince, up to 9th. The battle now between JC and Comacopa. This battle's been going on quite well for the majority of the day so far, and it looks as if this time JC's not going to have an opportunity to overtake the Alpine in question. Guzman leads them down the back straight now. Reimer's got about a 1.5 seconds disadvantage to the McLaren, but getting better is that of Reimer. I think Reimer, what he has been doing is kind of taking his time, conserving the tires off the start, and is now putting himself in positions where he could find himself within DRS range, perhaps by the time they come into the pit lane. But what I will say is this, now we're looking at this. Johnny Damon within DRS range on Bongett here. Bongett was nearly outside of DRS range on Reimer. Matter of fact, only just has it. Less than a tenth of a second separated Bongett from and not having DRS, so very close margins there. Charlie Gulf into the pit lane, the first driver of the day on the mediums to take the pit stop here. We'll have to wait and see. I'm assuming to the hard tires, but that will be kind of the indication to us, the viewer, that we're going to get our round of pit stops here rather shortly. And yep, it will be the hard tires as expected for Charlie. Good little 3-car battle here. Urban chasing down John the Prince and Owa for the 7th spot. John the Prince trying his best. Owa up 8 positions on the day so far. It's been a brilliant outing for the Red Bull. Let's see if he can hold on. Getting closer towards halfway through the Grand Prix. Not quite there yet. In a couple of laps we will be. John the Prince very close to Owa here, but still it looks as if these two very even on pace, but Urban slightly Urban is in this battle. He's not really enough to warrant panic from John the Prince, but he is right there, heavy over the apex through 9, and he's going to lose some time there even with the aid of DRS. That was a hell of a lot of taking of the apex curb, and unfortunately he's not really going to get an opportunity that time. But now the look is this. Bongett now within half a second of Reimer. Down the pit straight, Reimer chooses the inside, has to send Bongett the long way around. Oh, the Ferrari nearly got into the second spot. He held onto it for just a second, and then Reimer immediately takes it back, and the Mercedes stays in the second spot. Johnny Damon, having been about 0.9 of a second behind entering the DRS section, now is up to 0.3 of a second behind Bongett, as nearly made the move on Reimer. That has helped Johnny Damon's cases here. Bongett way into the grass on the outside of turn 4. Nearly sent that car spinning, was able to hold on. but Bongen has now lost about an additional 0.6 of a second back to Reimer, and the top two now have lost it. Oh, as Bongen's gone around and he's hit the inside barrier there. That's coming out of turn 7 and 8. A bit of a difficult transition to make. If you take too much of the inside curve there, you can see that yellow kind of sausage curve on the inside. You do hit that, and that car could very well go around. I'm afraid that's probably what's happened for Bonget. No visible wing damage. The track stays green. Exiting turn 9 now. Does Urban have anything for John the Prince for the 7th spot? Doesn't appear to be, but a bigger story is this. Guzman into the pit lane. Reimer stays out, who we kind of figured that Reimer was playing conservatively here in the beginning. Angry Walrus on his way in, so hard tires I would assume going on for both the McLaren and the Aston Martin in question. That certainly appears to be the case. Let's see what Walrus decides to do here. Into the pit lane, and yep, hard tires as well for the Aston Martin. So we are seeing the round of pit stops coming into play here for those who started on the medium tires. Only, well, about half the grid still has yet to stop. Shiesty, Coma, Barney, John the Prince, Urban, Manson, Bonget, Damon, and Reimer, the remaining drivers who have yet to stop, although John the Prince in the pit lane now as well, I believe. No, that's going to be it. In towards the first corner, though, I tell you what, that looked a very close battle there. Well, it's unfortunate I didn't catch along with it, but Charlie Golf nearly tangled up with both the Alpines. Matter of fact, they'll be down towards the inside this time of that of Barney, and in through turn 4, and yep, Charlie's going to have that spot nicely done. So Charlie does in both the Alpines there after his pit stop, I believe. Got very close. And now as they make their way up through turns 7 and 8, Reimer on the way into the pit lane now. Damon decides to stay out. Bold decision there from Johnny Damon. Perhaps when we thought that Damon was at a pace disadvantage, was he just conserving as well? That may have been the case, because he's going to try to stay out another lap here. Hard tires on for Reimer as expected. Bonget into the pit lane, he will follow suit. Remember, Bonget and Reimer were fighting for the majority of the opening stages of the Grand Prix after Bonget's mistake. Now decides to come in. Hard tires here for the Ferrari as well. Appearing that we're only going to get the one stop today, being that it's been a clean race so far. I don't even believe any additional pit stops for wing changes. No, it's been smooth sailing all day long. No safety car, no virtual safety car, despite the hefty-looking 3-car accident we had in the beginning of the race going through turn 3. Nothing, no problems there. Coma Copa gets around Bonget, and I believe Coma still has yet to stop here. In his Alpine. He will be losing some positions here, down to about 12th would be my estimation. So a little bit of a question here for Coma of when he decides to stop. Perhaps that is what he's trying to do. He's trying to go the long way on the mediums, maybe stay out for the softs. It'd be a bold decision, but I'm sure that that thought has definitely entered his mind. Up through 7 and 8 now, and now is the time we see Johnny Damon to the pit lane, and I'm assuming we're going to see Manson follow suit here. That's going to hand the lead back to Guzman as we expected. Into the pit lane is Johnny Damon. Hard tires going on for him. Let's see if he's able to stay within this battle. As a matter of fact, Manson and Guzman have both stayed out here. Guzman will get down to the inside of the Aston Martin, and that will hand the lead back towards the McLaren. Manson still has yet to stop for his medium tires in which he started the race on, so that'll be a pit stop being needed to be made here shortly. Walrus down the inside of Johnny Damon. Now that was coming out of the pit lane, and the Aston Martin has taken the 4th spot away from Johnny Damon. Good to see Walrus back in control of his car and in contention for getting onto the podium once more. As remember, he started this race atop the grid, disconnected around the lap 5, maybe 6 mark, and then fell all the way back to 5th, and he's now in control of the car once more. Has a mountain to climb if he wants to get back into position to win this Grand Prix, but a podium definitely in reach for Angry Walrus. Down in towards turn 5, we didn't see it, but Owa has actually overtaken Comacopa into the 5th corner. Very difficult spot to try to make something happen, and it appears that Owa has done it well. Owa, again, having a massive day so far. And onto the medium tires as well. Bonga and Barney nearly having a little bit of a collision there. That one got close between the Alpine and the Ferrari, but nothing there. John the Prince down the inside of Comacopa. That was through turn 10. Bold place to make something happen. That is a kind of a rarity nowadays, especially that late through the corner. Barney into the pit lane. He started the race on the hards. He finally decides to make his way in, so that will leave just Manson, Comacopa, and Shiesty yet to pit here. And we're seeing these medium tires be able to go 20 laps in. That's a good sign that we're going to get a lot of running here. Matter of fact, some of these guys in the medium tires might be off to a pretty solid advantage here once we start this next stint. Back along now with Reimer, half a second here back to Manson. I'm assuming this one's going to go relatively easily for the Mercedes here as Manson in position where he needs to pit. He's going to defend the outside line. Reimer up to second, and that is going to promote the Mercedes back into the second spot once more. 4 seconds the deficit back to Guzman. The pace from the McLaren today has been unmatched realistically, unless you were Angry Walrus. And speaking of Angry Walrus, he's trying to get around his teammate here as really holding up. Oh, and there's contact, lots of contact, and Walrus goes around. Well, the Barcelona circuit, one of those tracks known for having instances with teammates coming together and ruining races, and I'm afraid that may have just been what's happened to Walrus. Manson was looking to come into the pit lane, coming out of the 13th corner, was noticeably holding up Angry Walrus, and unfortunately he's gone into the back end of his teammate and has gone round and has now lost the spot to Charlie Gulf as well. No, Charlie is genuinely up to that 4th spot, up 7 positions as well. So Charlie, the newest player in trying to finish on the podium here, but massive calamity for the Aston Martin team, and I'm sure that one's going to get discussed in Discord later on. That was just an absolute travesty to see there, if your name is Angry Walrus. JC now battling with Barney. These... We've seen a lot of Williams trying to pressure Alpines today, but it was actually the other way around. It was Comacopa battling JC, and now JC has the ability to try to take on Coma's teammate of Barney here for the 11th spot. The JC has had I don't want to say a quiet day, but he's not really made too many changes on the leaderboard. He started 13th, he's up to 12th, but he's gained and lost that position several times. So the graphic in which you're seeing with the positions change doesn't really tell the full story. He's had a very action-packed day, and I'm assuming he may have an opportunity to get around Barney, but who will have an opportunity here is John the Prince. He's got Owa in his sights. Matter of fact, though, Walrus down the inside of Charlie Gulf for the 4th spot. That one seemingly came out of nowhere, really, and now John the Prince to the inside of Owa will take the Red Bull back to 8th. But that one seemingly came out of nowhere there for Angry Walrus. I mean, I didn't even really recognize that he was in position to make something happen, as we've got the Red Bull now of Agnote at the back. He's kind of had a spin there coming out of turn 10 up through 11. Unfortunate for him. So Charlie now, and again, on the same strategy as those around him. A couple of laps older hard tires, but... not really to the point, I don't think, where it's going to be a massive disadvantage. If Charlie can stay within DRS range of Angry Walrus, that'd be a good little result for him. That'll keep him kind of in play. But, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm not too sure just yet. No drivers have picked up penalties yet today either. Of course, none on track. We'll have to wait for stewards later on. So everybody has made their stop now. Manson and Coma have both gone to the softs, which is a bit of an interesting choice there. John the Prince, Owa, Barney, Agnote, and Shiesty have all taken mediums, although Agnote has, he had pit earlier on, and 16-lap old mediums for him. He's going to have to stop once more here, being the only 2-stopper of the day. Closest battle on track is that of Charlie back to Angry Walrus for the 4th spot as they make their way through turn 3. Charlie's actually got some halfway decent pace here, looking to hold on as we got the Williams of JC has had a bit of a spin there, and I believe this is the second time we've seen him have an accident coming out of turn 12 off to the inside by where the rallycross track is, and well, yeah, back to it here. He's not hit anything, but a couple of second time he's made that mistake today. Closest battle now belongs to that of Hemphead and Anyote making his way in. That's about as anticlimactic as it gets. Down the back straight they go. Charlie about 0.8 of a second behind that of Walrus. Now, Walrus has about 9.5 seconds to try to pressure Johnny Damon for the podium spot. Remember, Walrus was arguably really close to being onto the podium, and then the accident with his teammate really, for all intents and purposes, had taken him out of contention. Guzman leads Reimer by 2.5 seconds. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to get away from the battle that quickly, although I'm afraid Charlie's not going to have much in the way of trying to overtake Walrus here. Thankfully, the Red Bull of Anyote stays out of the way for the two, and we can continue on. Guzman now trying to lap the ghosted Haas of Shiesty. This next time by will be 10 laps to go in this very quick Spanish Grand Prix, very quick and to the point Spanish Grand Prix, which is going to be good for me because I need to be up early for class. But either way, it's not been bad. We've seen some halfway decent overtaking. We're going to see even more of that next week when we head to the Las Vegas Street Circuit. Should be a very entertaining Grand Prix to be had. Lots of DRS, lots of overtakes, and the sights and scenery second to none on the F1 calendar. Although what I will say now is Charlie Golf has finally fallen outside of that 1 second DRS bracket back to Angry Walrus, and Hemphead a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane, the first penalty of the day handed out so far. 10 laps to go now in the Spanish Grand Prix. Johnny Damon not really closing in on Reimer either. It's about 1.5 seconds, and it's been that way for the better part of, well, since they've come out of the pit lane on their stops. So the grid, yeah, very spread out here, but at the very least, we have seen some good racing, and I'm afraid if Guzman does get the win today, he will have earned it. Although luck, I think, did come into play on his end, as we have a yellow flag now. I think Hemphead was just kind of getting out of the way for some of the quicker cars, but the yellow flag was displayed there for a second. A little jumpy. But Guzman, if he does win today's Grand Prix, it would have absolutely been deserved. But you can't help but notice and recognize that there was luck involved for the McLaren, having Walrus disconnect from the session, who Walrus wasn't like clearly the quicker driver or anything. Matter of fact, I would argue that Guzman for a time period was right on pace with the Aston Martin, but had Walrus not have disconnected from the session, I would think we may have been seeing a different winner today. But who knows? It could have gone either way. I think they were both even enough on pace to warrant I think it was pretty much coin flip odds there. Remember, it was only 7/100ths of a second, which separated them in the qualifying session. And then it was looking like we were going to get within DRS range there for a good little bit. And then, unfortunately, Walrus disconnected, and that's where we're at now. And a yellow flag coming out of 13. I think it was just Hemphead maybe getting out of the way there. Johnny Damon getting very close to DRS range on Reimer here for the first time since exiting the pit lane. He was about a clean second behind the Mercedes coming out of the final corner. He's now since lost an additional 0.2 of a second here. Meanwhile, now JC, well, Shiesty's ghosted here, so we're going to see this move be made relatively easily, I'm afraid, but it'll be an on-track overtake nonetheless. So now Reimer within 1.5 seconds of Guzman. Remember, that gap was about 2 seconds not all that long ago, and Reimer now in position where I think he may, well, to use an old racing term, he'll turn up the juice and see what shakes loose, I think, for the Mercedes here. He's doing quite well and is really shaving time off to the McLaren ahead. He's really pushing the pace here. Johnny Damon will miss out on DRS once more, only this time by about 5/100ths of a second. But to be within the picture still of this podium and perhaps battle for the win is a good sign there for the Alfa Romeo. Manton about 0.5 seconds behind Urban here for the 9th spot. Currently the closest real battle of the Grand Prix as JT gets around the ghosted Haas of Shiesty. That's why we didn't go along with that battle, as it was kind of obvious that it was going to happen once the Haas was ghosted. Down the pit straight they go. Manson really closing in on Urban here. He'll have a look down to the inside, and that's going to be a relatively easy one for the Aston Martin with the aid of DRS. Up to 9th then is our Manson. We'll take a look once more at the drivers' gained and losing positions. Owa up 7, currently belonging to driver of the day status. Charlie in on that position as well, up 6 spots. Manson Gets back a spot there and claws the deficit back to just one of positions. And now the battle for the top three. All three drivers within DRS range of each other. Hang on just a minute. This one's going to get interesting here very quickly. Exiting turn 13 and now through turn 14. Lap 27 beginning here. 7 laps to go this time by. Down the pit straight. 0.6 of a second between both Reimer to Guzman and Johnny Damon to Reimer as they enter the first corner. We do now have, ladies and gentlemen, a true battle for the lead, and they're all relatively even on tire strategy. Although Guzman a lap older than Reimer, Reimer a lap older than Damon. So Damon having the best tires of the top three now. Of course, it's not really going to be a massive difference as Bongit's to the inside of Charlie there through the first corner. And that's for the 5th spot. Bongit's had a halfway decent day, although with a quick spin that he did have, does regain that 5th spot. And Charlie, well, still up 5 spots either way. If he does miss out on the top 5, he'll be slightly disappointed, I'm sure. But a 5-place improvement is no joke. That's a good day. Exiting turn 9 now, down the backstretch, in towards turn 10. Johnny Damon within 0.3 of Reimer here as they make their way in towards the 3rd sector now. We'll have to wait and see if we do suddenly see the revitalization of the Alfa Romeo of Johnny Damon to get himself into position to battle for the lead. What I will say is this: Reimer now within half a second of Guzman, exiting the final corner. Half a second here. Guzman really defending the inside, trying to break the toe as much as he can. Reimer will stay kind of in pursuit of the McLaren, doesn't get close enough to make anything happen, but Johnny Damon now right in this picture as well. 0.3 of a second behind Reimer for the 2nd spot. Reimer 0.3 of a second behind Guzman for the top spot. Well, as we have a yellow flag, that's the Mercedes of Urban, as we'll go along with Charlie here to watch that overtake. Very nicely done. Urban, I think, yep, he's had a spin coming out of 12. Top 3 now within half a second of each other here. Manson getting around Owa. I tell you what, that's a halfway decent looking battle there for the 8th spot. Still side by side, and Owa will get around that of Manson. Down the back straight they go. Reimer has lost a couple of tenths to Guzman here, and Damon's lost an additional couple of tenths back to Reimer, it seems. We will have 5 laps to go at the stripe this time. Guzman, for the majority of today, has looked as if he's been dominating. That doesn't appear to be the case anymore. This looks to be a very even contest between the top 3, and we'll have to wait and see. Reimer will follow Guzman down to the pit wall on the inside, trying to break the toe. Johnny Damon in pursuit as well. DRS for the back 2 in this battle as they make their way towards the first corner. Not close enough to make an overtake this time, but it appears that these cars very even on pace. Hemphead picking up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That'll put him at 8 seconds. Only the second, or well, 3rd time penalty accumulated of the day. That puts him at 8, 5 for speeding to the pit lane and 3 for the track limits, as we've just seen. Agnote picking up 3 as well, which is good. We're getting a lot of pure on-track battles, which is always what we'd like to see. 4 laps to go this next time by, 30, 31, 32, and 33. As up through turn 9 they go. Now this is where we were starting to see Reimer and Damon kind of lose time back to Guzman. It does appear that the McLaren might be better in the slow speed sectors. We'll have to wait and see if that's the case, because going down the pit straight, it does appear that Guzman is enough to at least remain competitive against that of Reimer, and all 3 of these drivers doing their best, trying to save up the energy store as much as they can. Going through 14 now, as we have a yellow flag. It's the Mercedes of Urban going out of turn 4. Down the pit straight they go. Damon may have a look at Reimer here. Reimer not close enough this time to get a look at Guzman, but now does Johnny Damon have a look to the inside? No, not going to be the case this time. Did have a fair look on Reimer, certainly one to get the alarm bells going on the Mercedes driver, but with 3 laps to go this next time by is John the Prince off to the inside there. We've had a lot of drivers to the inside of 12, not the first or will be the last time we've seen that mistake happen. Bongit to the inside of Charlie now for the 5th spot. Those 2 appear to have been battling it out quite well since Bongit initially took the 5th spot. I'll open the telemetry now. 55% for Reimer, 40% for Johnny Damon. And John the Prince has been disqualified for parking in a dangerous location. Oh, and he's beached on the curb, isn't he? Yeah, that's unfortunate. He spun to the inside of turn 12, and I'm afraid the car is lodged on the curb and kind of the transition between the grass and the tarmac there. And that is a very disappointing end of the day for John the Prince, who nothing he could really do. Could have used the reset to track feature, although I'm sure he probably thought initially he didn't need it. 3 laps to go now. Does Guzman have the ability to hold off Reimer? Look at that, 20% battery used. Reimer still at 57%, and he's closing in fast. Does the Mercedes have it now? He'll try the outside. Maybe is he going to try to force Guzman into a mistake here with these couple of laps to go. Johnny Damon 35%, not really in position at the moment to make something happen, but Reimer really closing in on Guzman here in towards turn 4, yet still not going to happen for the time being, although Guzman, I'm sure, is looking in that rearview mirror more than he should and knows that the Mercedes is close behind, and that one is certainly going to be, I tell you what, we are shaping up to have a very good conclusion to this Grand Prix, has to be said. Going up through turn 9 now. If you're still watching, we appreciate you joining. We appreciate you allowing us into your homes this evening. Don't click away yet, because we could have a very good ending to this race here with 2 laps to go this next time by. 0.6 of a second for Reimer, back to Guzman. These 3 drivers all relatively equal on tire strategy. The difference is going to be made in the conservation or liberal use of the energy store. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case. Exiting the final corner for the penultimate time here. Or sorry, not penultimate time. He'll have one more next time by. Down the pit straight they go. Reimer, will he have a look at Guzman? He'll try the outside once more. I'm actually quite interested to see why Reimer is choosing the outside line into turn 1. I would much rather him try it down the inside. That would at least make more sense in trying to overtake the McLaren. Maybe pressure-wise, he knows that that first couple of corners is a sore spot for the McLaren. That may be a viable thing to think for Reimer there, but not quite sure what's on the agenda for the Mercedes. That was either a big wiggle or a big lag spike there. He's lost 0.2 of a second either way. Charlie does get around Bongit for the 5th spot going through the 3rd corner, as Manson getting around Owa into the 1st corner, side by side here. Very close indeed. Good Lord, did you see that? I mean, that Red Bull was on top of the Aston Martin. That was literally Verstappen and Hamilton at Monza 2021. I mean, that was the oddest thing I've seen. Very odd indeed, but we'll have to wait and see now. Out of the final corner for this time, being the penultimate time. Down the pit straight they go. And we'll have to wait and see, does Reimer have enough? There he is, using the energy store now. Guzman's going to have to defend a lot here. Reimer does choose the inside, and that could very well be the lead and potentially the win for Reimer here if he can hold on. A little bit of contact from the McLaren behind. The McLaren used up all of his energy, and I'm afraid unless the only way Guzman's going to get this spot back is if he tries something drastic in towards turn 10 down the backstretch DRS zone, but you can tell that car might just be struggling now as we have a yellow flag. It's the Red Bull, I think, of Agnote spitting out. Angry Walrus leaves the session. Tough day for him. Will finish shy of the podium. Reimer now, the last lap maneuver. Can it be enough as they look to go through turn 9 this time? Does Johnny Damon perhaps have anything for Guzman here? Look at Guzman. He's really close to Reimer now, using every little last ounce of battery he has. And I think he may just be a little bit short, but still a couple of corners to go. Does Guzman have anything ridiculous now? Does Reimer make a mistake which warrants the lead changing here in the final couple of corners? Just turned 13 and 14 to go, and I think if Reimer can get away well, which it appears that he does, Reimer will win the Spanish Grand Prix. 0.3 of a second, the gap at the line. Johnny Damon, a very good effort for 3rd. Guzman losing the lead on the final lap of the Grand Prix into the 1st corner. And Reimer taking the win here in Spain, which was a very good showing from Reimer, who I certainly thought was at a pace disadvantage for the majority of the Grand Prix. As it turns out, that guy conserved the hell out of his tires and has done well to get ahead of Guzman. Not just the tires, but also the energy store as well. That has certainly been the deciding factor for Reimer taking the win here today. As Barney, has he done that on track? I'm thinking he must have. Surely, I don't see why. Yeah, Barney has retired from the session on track. He's not crashed. He's just done it, which is unfortunate for him, but that's the case. Just waiting for Coma, Urban, and Owa to round the line here, but Reimer taking the win. Be sure to join us next time out when we head to the Las Vegas Strip for round 18 of the CCRL Elite Tier Season. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you. Congratulations to Reimer, Guzman, and Johnny Damon on the podium today. And I think we're going to get Onyote, or Owa. No, it's going to be Charlie driver of the day. Well, either ways, we'll see you next week. You are correct there, Feeney. What a finish it was. Reimer really saved it all up to the end there. Well, I'll go through the order one more time. Reimer taking the win after starting third on the grid. Guzman second. Damon third. Good effort from him. Angry Walrus, had he not left the session, I think we could have had a fair shot for him winning today, but instead he finishes fourth. Charlie finishes fifth and gets driver of the day. Sixth is Bongit. Seventh is Manson. Eighth, Komakopa. Ninth, Urban. 10th, Owa. 11th, Barney. And unfortunately for, Barney, JC, Shiesty, Onyote, all finishing a couple of laps down there. Hemphead and John the Prince not finishing. Once again, be sure to join us next time out when we head to Las Vegas for the 18th round of the season. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you, and we'll see you next time.